Greetings and salutations, viewers and listeners. Welcome to another book review. This week we are doing none other than Welcome to Nightvale, a novel, from Joseph Fink and Jeffrey Cranor. I love this podcast series. I don't remember who got me into it, but it is my type of weird, so the fact that they're coming out with a book in October got me excited. But I thought, well, you're not going to get it till October, so put it on the list. They happen to be signing this book at Book Expo America this year, and it is one of the few books that I actually waited in line for because I thought this would be awesome to be able to read and review early. Not to mention meet Joseph Fink and Jeffrey Cranor, because every single live show they've done, either it's too far away, I didn't know about it in time, tickets were unavailable, blah de blah. Hey, it's a book review, let's talk about the book. This book, I got the paperback version because that's what they were giving out. And, oh, that doesn't belong in there. Because I was patient enough to wait in line, I managed to get a signed copy from both of them and talk to them for like 10 seconds because long line. Fair enough. I'm really glad I got this book because this is such a fun read. Oh my goodness, I had so much fun reading this. It is so weird. It is Nightvale level weird. Like, they really kept the style and tone and atmosphere of the podcast and put it into book form, which I wasn't quite sure how they were going to pull off because the podcast primarily is about Cecil. You experience all of Nightvale through Cecil's point of view, based off of his little radio show thing. This book goes away from that. I mean, Cecil is in there. We do get regular moments of Cecil's show, which was fantastic. But we actually get to learn about some of the other characters in Nightvale, and just what happens if they try to leave Nightvale. Shenanigans ensue, basically. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to tell you too much about it because I don't want to spoil it. It's an experience, and it is one worth having. So I would highly recommend getting this when it comes out, pre-ordering it now if you want, just to be safe. Amazon has it set up for hardcover, paperback, Kindle, audio CD even, which, I mean, considering it's based off the podcast, that makes sense. And I know that there are other methods for also acquiring a copy depending on your preferences. If you're not an Amazon fan, fair enough. This was just the easiest backdrop I could have at the moment. But yes, highly recommend it when it comes out. Definitely grab a copy if you're a fan of the podcast. It is such a fun read. And to tease you a bit, I'm going to do the back cover and the first page and a half or so, just so you kind of know what you'd be getting yourself into. No real spoilers in it, but just for fun. Located in a nameless desert somewhere in the great American Southwest, Nightvale is a small town where ghosts, angels, aliens, and government conspiracies are all commonplace parts of everyday life. It is here that the lives of two women with two mysteries will converge. 19-year-old Nightvale pawn shop owner Jackie Fierro is given a paper marked King City by a mysterious man in a tan jacket holding a deerskin suitcase. Everything about him and his paper unsettles her, especially the fact that she can't seem to get the paper to leave her hand, and that no one who meets this man can remember anything about him. Jackie is determined to uncover the mystery of King City and the man in the tan jacket before she herself unravels. Nightvale PTA treasurer Diane Creighton's son, Josh, is moody and also a shapeshifter. And lately, Diane started to see her son's father everywhere she goes, looking the same as the day he left years earlier, when they were both teenagers. Josh, looking different every time Diane sees him, shows a stronger and stronger interest in his estranged father, leading to a disaster Diane can see coming, even as she is helpless to prevent it. Diane's search to reconnect with her son and Jackie's search for her former routine life collide as they find themselves coming back to two words: King City. It is King City that holds the key to both of their mysteries and their futures, if they can ever find it. Just based off of that, I knew I was going to enjoy it because it's a Nightvale story. It's going to get weird, and it's all somehow going to tie together and kind of wrap up by the end, just as most of the podcast episodes do. There were so many twists in here that I wasn't quite expecting, as you do in Nightvale. There were so many things you got to see that as of this recording, I'm about 3 episodes behind on the podcast, so maybe some of these are teased a little more, but so many locations in Nightvale are covered, so many characters are seen. You get to see a little slice of life from so many of them and how they interact in Nightvale. Not just from Cecil's point of view, but primarily from Diane and Jackie, with a couple flashes here and there from other characters. That's what made this so much fun. I mean, Cecil is a fantastic character. He's what built up Nightvale as a brand, but to see it from other people's perspectives was so much fun and really refreshing. Alright, we're going to do the first page and a half, and before it is a tiny little, like 2-paragraph, you can see, 2-paragraph little intro blurble. The history of the town of Nightvale is long and complicated, reaching back thousands of years to the earliest indigenous people in the desert. We will cover none of it here. Suffice it to say that it is a town like many towns, with a city hall, a bowling alley, the Desert Flower Bowling Alley and Arcade Fun Complex, and a diner, the Moonlight All Night Diner, and a supermarket, Ralph's, and, of course, a community radio station reporting all the news that we are allowed to hear. On all sides, it is surrounded by empty desert flatness. It is much like your town, perhaps. It might be like your town that you'd like to... It might be more like your town than you'd like to admit. It is a friendly desert community, where the sun is hot, the moon is beautiful, and mysterious lights pass overhead while we all pretend to sleep. Welcome to Nightvale. That really gets you in the mood. Oh, I had so much fun reading this. Alright, first page and a half teaser. Really kind of sets the stage. Pawn shops in Nightvale work like this. First, you need an item to pawn. To get this, you need a lot of time behind you. Years spent living and existing, until you've reached a point where you believe that you exist, and that a physical item exists, and that the concept of ownership exists, and that, improbable as all those are, these absurd beliefs line up in a way that results in you owning an item. Good job. Nicely done. Second, once you believe you own an item, you must reach a point where you need money more than you need the item. This is the easiest step. Just own an item and own a body with needs and wait. The only pawn shop in the town of Nightvale is run by the very young Jackie Fierro. It has no name, but if you need it, you will know where it is. This knowledge will come suddenly, often while you are in the shower. You will collapse, surrounded by a bright glowing blackness, and you will find yourself on your hands and knees, the warm water running over you, and you will know where the pawn shop is. You will smell must and soap, and feel a stab of panic about how alone you are. It will be like most showers you've taken. Before you can offer Jackie your item, there will first be some hand washing, which is why there are bowls of purified water throughout the shop. You need to chant a little as you wash your hands. You, of course, should always chant when you wash your hands. It is only hygienic. When you have been properly purified, you will lay the item on the counter, and Jackie will consider it. Jackie will have her feet up on the counter. She will lean back. $11, she will say. She will always say, $11. You will not respond. You are, ultimately, unnecessary to this process. You are, ultimately, unnecessary. No, no, she will say, waving her hand, and then she will name her actual price. Usually it is money. Sometimes it is other things. Sometimes it is dreams, experiences, visions. Then you will die, but only for a little while. The item will be given a price tag, $11. Everything in the pawn shop is that price, no matter what she loaned you for it. Once you are no longer dead, she will give you a ticket, which later you will be able to exchange for the item, or at any time you may look at the ticket and remember the item. Remembering the item is free. You are leaving this story now. You are only an example, and it is probably safer for you not to be in this story anyway. And that's how that story kicks off. Oh, it's so much fun. If you're a fan of the podcast, you're going to want this book in some format or another when it comes out and is available, because it is so much fun. It really fleshes out Nightvale. It touches on so many characters and history bits from the podcast. This is probably going to be in my top 10 favorite reads for the year, I predict. Which, considering my to-be-read pile, which is over there, which is about 150 books still, yeah, that's a bold statement, but I'm going to stand by that. So, yeah, definitely go check this book out. Pre-order it, get a copy when it's available, in whatever format you prefer. It's well worth the read. And even if you're not overly familiar with the podcast, if you've only listened to a couple episodes here or there, this or that, and you kind of want to check it out, this really does flesh out the universe of Nightvale. So if you're not quite sure of the perspective of just Cecil, this might be a different way of getting into the series, as it were. So, just saying, keep that in mind. And yeah, I can't say enough good things about this book. It was so much fun to read. Oops. Let's see. I'm not quite sure what's going to be up for next week. It's probably going to be... No, I really have no idea. Because I have about 3 that I'm debating reading or just juggling reading at the moment. So we'll see what next Friday has to bring. But yeah, definitely check this one out if you're a fan of the podcast or you're amused by very eccentric styles of writing. This was so much fun. All right. Thank you for joining me and listening to my little book review. As always, hit the subscribe button if you want to see what else we review. And there's our weekly podcast where we talk about books and writing and creativity, and our ongoing Game Break series where we're playing all sorts of fun games and convention shenanigans and interviews. We got all sorts of fun stuff on this channel. So it's worth subscribing to so you can see all the shiny things that we come up with every single day, pretty much. All right. Have a good night, everyone. See you next week for whatever we're reviewing next.